So today I wanted to kind of get on here and discuss kettlebell swings a little bit. We've done, so since CrossFit sort of started, they have this definition of work. And so CrossFit's goal is to get more work done in the same amount of time, or get a certain amount of work done in a shorter period of time than you've done before, right? So like WODs. So if you think about your work being 5 rounds of something, trying to get that 5 rounds done faster than you've previously done that same workout, which is why we name some of these workouts and we repeat them so we show you that you're getting better at stuff, right? So their definition of what work is weight times distance divided by speed, right? Divided by time, rather. So it's the amount of stuff that you're carrying over the distance that you're carrying it divided by how long it took you to carry it, to accomplish the task, right? So if we apply that to a kettlebell swing, kettlebell swings that we've been doing, we generally stop at eye level with that kettlebell, right? So if we were to make you do more work with that kettlebell, we would just bring the kettlebell up higher, right? So in CrossFit, we've had to make this new term called the American kettlebell swing, and what that is, the kettlebell is getting all the way up over your head, right? So that kettlebell has now traveled twice the distance of just here, right? You've doubled the distance the kettlebell has traveled, therefore you've doubled the amount of work, right? And so the kettlebell swing that only goes up to your eyes is referred to as the Russian kettlebell swing, okay? So we have the Russians, the way that they did it, they created the kettlebell, they introduced the world to the kettlebell, right? And now us Americans had to go and change it because that's what Americans do, right? And so we have this term between Russian and American kettlebell swings. Roe and Emily at the competition the other day had their first, I don't know, they saw the world of CrossFit outside of our little gym, right? And there are things that are done in the world of CrossFit that isn't always the way that I've been asking you to do things, right? So for instance, a kettlebell swing. CrossFitters in competition do a kettlebell swing that allows, because they're swinging up over their head, right? And many of them have poor shoulder mobility. We're going to get into that in just a second. What they end up doing is they bend their elbows. So the kettlebell, instead of going in an arc like this, keeping your arm straight, that ends up staying in here nice and close, right? They keep the kettlebell really close to their body and they let their elbows bend, right? So the kettlebell gets up above their head and then comes back down again. And the reason they do that is because in a competition, everything's about time, right? And so it is easy and faster to do kettlebell swings that way, right? Because it takes it just takes time for you to bend over, right? And it's harder, it's more work, there's more muscles working in that style of kettlebell swing, in a real kettlebell swing, right? When they're not chained, when they're not sort of cheating it, right? So, man, I just lost my train of thought. So the problem, though, is in a normal day in the gym, the reason we're doing kettlebell swings is to get the benefit from them, right? We're not just trying to score a really good time on the clock. Not today, anyways, right? Not on practice days. Some days we will worry less about the form of things and try to get you a really good score, right? But when we are using the kettlebell swing to strengthen our body or to condition our body, we want to make sure that we're using the most muscles possible, right? The same way we do all the other lifting. So what tends to happen, right? We're going to add some complexity to this kettlebell swing because going from here to here in the kettlebell swing, there's lots of extra things that are happening, right, to get that kettlebell up over your head. And so to get the kettlebell up over your head safely and to still benefit from the kettlebell swing, we want to make sure that a few things are happening or are not happening, right? We want to make sure that I'm not breaking at my ribs, right? That I'm not sticking my ribs out. I want to make sure my ribs stay down, my abs stay tight, but I can get that kettlebell up over my head, right? So that is going to require a certain amount of mobility in the shoulders so that you can get into that overhead position without compromising your trunk stability. Because what we don't want to happen is for you to get into that position only because you've compromised your trunk, right? It's not acceptable. Another problem that people have is in a kettlebell swing, because you're holding on to this guy, we tend to be internally rotated, meaning we tend to stick our pinkies up a little bit. Now I'm slightly exaggerating for the video, right? But this is basically what happens. So you're swinging this kettlebell, and if you try to go overhead, my shoulders are in the way. Like I can't squeeze my head through my shoulders. So I bend my elbows. Now I've got a big enough window to push through, right? Again, there's lots of problems because now I'm compromising my shoulder, right? Even if I'm able to do that while keeping my ribs down, right? Not compromising my trunk, now I'm compromising my shoulder and that overhead position, okay? And I'm also limiting the amount of travel that the kettlebell had to go over, so I'm defeating the purpose anyways, right? So, as if the kettlebell swing wasn't complicated enough, on top of hips going back, abs staying tight at the top, we want to make sure that we are externally rotating, that you're pulling your shoulders down and back, almost like you're sticking your chest out, as that kettlebell is coming up, right? And so what that does is it allows the space to be in there so that I can keep my arms straight and stick my head through my shoulders, right? And get all the benefit from that kettlebell swing that we're trying to get. So we're gonna add that external rotation. We're gonna add putting your thumbs up. Now the issue is you need to separate there's three sections to your arm here, right? You've got your shoulder, your upper arm, and your lower arm. And they need to be in different positions because for my shoulder needs to be externally rotated, but I'm holding onto a kettlebell. So I've got to externally rotate the top and still be able to internally rotate the bottom, right? So we're creating these different torques and tensions in our arms, right? But we're keeping our shoulders here, and my forearm's going to be here because it's holding on to that kettlebell, right? And then I'm swinging and keeping that external rotation happening all the way up over the top, and then letting the kettlebell come back down again, okay? So we're beginning to master the initial kettlebell swing. We're going to want to start to get that kettlebell up over our head a little bit more, because we don't have a giant selection of kettlebells, but the difference between a green and a red, you may not be able to swing a red with a really good form the way that you can swing a green. But as you get stronger, you're going to need more than just a green. And so that means you will transition to getting that kettlebell up over your head all the way, right? And trying to get that kettlebell as high as possible while still using the main drivers of the kettlebell swing to create that force, that momentum, right? We don't want that all of a sudden to turn into an arm exercise, because again, then we're defeating the purpose of why we're doing it in the first place. So I realize this is becoming a longer explanation. It's just a long video, right? But I hope that's kind of shining some light on what I'm going to try to what I'm going to be looking for when we swing a kettlebell up over your head for those individuals that are ready for that sort of upgrade in the kettlebell swing.